Top boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. Former unified super lightweight champion Kaylee Reese took to social media and stated, "No, I'm not retired. No, I did not leave boxing to fuck about in acting. My break is not a choice, it's a necessity. And instead of sitting on the titles, rightfully so, like some select fighters are allowed to for ages, I decided to give someone else a shot. I'll be back." We know on the heels of Chantel Cameron versus Jessica McCaskill's undisputed super lightweight title fight, Kaylee Reese made the decision to relinquish the belts as to allow the contest to go on.
For all the belts.
As an undisputed title fight, it being that Kaylee Reese herself was sidelined by a medical condition that she is still combating.
Talked about that here on the channel when I sat down with Kaylee Reese for a Q&A. And, it looks like she didn't want to hold up the division.
So she vacated those two alphabet titles as to not hold things up. But what she's essentially saying is she's not actually done in the sport of boxing. She means to return, and she is a potential opponent option for Chantel Cameron should Chantel not land the Katie Taylor fight in the first quarter of next year. The Katie Taylor fight that she has so vehemently been pursuing for years now. The Katie Taylor fight she's still pursuing by way of her social media. Chantel Cameron, on the heels of her big win, posted this via her Twitter account, which reads, March 17th, Croke Park, Katie Taylor, undisputed versus undisputed. If the Serrano rematch doesn't happen, I'll be free.
The Serrano rematch, it might still happen, it might.
We know that the WBA very recently ordered Erica Cruz to take on Amanda Serrano in what would be an undisputed featherweight title fight. And if they can do that fight in a timely fashion to where, I don't know, maybe it happens in January or the beginning of February.
That's a bit tight.
I think Amanda wants that opportunity. She wants that chance to become her own division's undisputed champion, and I think we're going to see that fight, Serrano versus Cruz. Depending on when that fight happens, that directly affects whether or not a Taylor rematch will be next. And as I said in a previous video, Chantel, she's not doing anything at her around that time. So for Katie Taylor, it would be ideal that if you can't get the second fight with Amanda, you can take on Chantel. The question is, would Katie move up in weight for the fight, or would she defend her undisputed crown against Chantel?
The Jessica McCaskill people, we saw a clever bit of business strategy on their part in reference to this past weekend's fight. Their own belts at 147 pounds, they weren't actually on the line. So even though she lost this past weekend's fight, she's still a champion.
Would Katie Taylor employ a similar strategy to where she moves up in weight and she challenges Chantel for what she's got? Her own belts, they won't be on the line, so that should things go sideways with Chantel and she doesn't win, she's still a champion, still an undisputed champion at lightweight.
One of the things that makes the fight so attractive, apart from them being both well-schooled boxers, educated boxers, is that it's a chance for Katie to become a two-time undisputed champion against an actual champion.
If Amanda Serrano is all tied up at featherweight, doing what she's doing, Chantel Cameron would be the natural choice, and I see no reason that the fight shouldn't happen because they're both with the same promotional outfit. They fight on the same platform. It's not like Chantel doesn't bring something to the table. She does. Katie's no stranger to super lightweight. That's where she won the WBO title from then champion Christina Lenardatu.
It can happen.
I just don't see why it shouldn't. I've spoken to Chantel here on the channel on a number of occasions, and Chantel really wasn't optimistic. She wasn't sure that she ever would get the opportunity to share the ring with Katie Taylor, and it seems that
she might get the chance. She just might. If she doesn't, she's not up the creek without a paddle. Super lightweight isn't a barren weight class, a barren division.
If by some chance the Taylor fight don't happen, she can take on former champion Kaylee Reese once she's ready to return and fully recovered. She can fight a former champion Kaylee Reese. She can fight a former champion in Christina Lenardatu.
Currently, Sandy Ryan is climbing up those ranks in order to get in position to challenge Chantel for what she's got. We know that Chantel and Sandy, they have their own rivalry. They have their own bad blood, their beef.
I believe there's a strong chance that Taylor versus Cameron takes place. I believe there's a strong enough possibility that fight happens, but even if it doesn't, even if by some chance the fight just don't materialize for whatever reason, there are other fights that Chantel can have.
I'm not too worried about it. Her being this division's undisputed champion makes her the woman to beat, funneling all that division's talent directly to her.
She has the Taylor fight. She doesn't have the Taylor fight. Either way,
Chantel has effectively gone from the hunter to the hunted.
What are we betting on first? What are we betting on first? First and foremost, what are we betting on?
You said that we wouldn't take the Lomachenko fight. You said that I'm scared to take it.
You're gonna bet me 100,000 to taking the Lomachenko fight.
Hold on. You just
gonna let me talk. Now you're gonna let me talk. Now, bro. Bill. Now you're gonna let me talk. You want to bet 100,000 for taking a Lomachenko fight? My man, Lomachenko will beat your son's ass. You understand me? You want to bet 100,000 on taking the fight? Bet 100,000 on your son wins the fight. Okay? Forget about taking the fight. Bet 100,000 on your son wins the fight. You got no balls to do that. Bet 100,000 your son wins the fight. You want to bet me that your son will take the fight? I would give your son credit for taking the fight. I was ready to give your son credit for taking that fight. I was ready to give your son credit if he took the fight. And I'm on the record as saying if he even takes the fight, I'll give him a ton of respect. But he shouldn't even be after my respect. He should be after what's best for him. I'm on the record as saying that. All right? You want to bet 100,000 for taking the fight? I would have given your son credit for even taking the fight. Even if he took an L, I would have took 100. I would have given him credit for it. For taking the fight. What are we betting on first?
I feel like Paulie Malignaggi. He's moving a goalpost. That's what he's doing.
It is.
You know, Paulie Malignaggi was the guy who said that George Kambosos would end up beating Devin in the first fight. Controversially, but controversially or not, he essentially picked George to beat Devin the first time out. We all know that's not what happened.
It's not.
And, you know, more recently he said he bet $100,000 that Devin wouldn't take the fight with Loma. Forget about who wins it, because what Paulie was banking on was the fight not actually taking place, the fight not actually happening. And now that Vasyl Lomachenko has had his token tune-up fight to sharpen the tools ahead of a Devin Haney fight, now that he's had that, the fight with Devin and Lomachenko, you know, the way is clear.
And he's moving a goalpost, because if what you were banking on was that Devin wouldn't even have the fight with Loma, don't make it about who wins now.
According to you, there shouldn't even be a fight to bet on, because what you were banking on was the fight not happening. And if Devin does end up fighting Vasyl Lomachenko in his very next fight, well, he is once again, in essence, proving you wrong.
Whether he wins or loses, I do feel like Paulie, he is moving the goalpost here.
You know, Vasyl Lomachenko, looking as human as he looked against Jermaine Ortiz in his comeback fight, irrespective of the reasoning, the layoff, or maybe age is just finally catching up to him, irrespective of why, he did look human against Jermaine, didn't he? To some people, some people think it was a draw. Some people even think that Vasyl Lomachenko lost that fight. So now would be the most opportune time to get him in the ring and settle those affairs. We know that's what Bob Arum means to do. He wants to get Devin in there with Vasyl Lomachenko. Devin Haney himself very recently stated that's the most realistic fight. It's not that Devin doesn't have options up there at 140. You know, Teofimo Lopez is up there. He's going to be in action very soon against Jose Pedraza. The thing is that if Devin were to move up to 140 pounds and leave the Vasyl Lomachenko fight behind, that unfinished business, it's not like he walks straight into a Teofimo Lopez fight. Lopez is supposed to face Pedraza. If he beats that guy, he moves straight into a fight with the winner of Taylor versus Catterall too. So while Lopez is an option for Devin down the line, it's not a fight that he can immediately have, whereas the Vasyl Lomachenko fight, it's right there.
Right there, bro.
It's a box office fight if it's anything. It's one of the best box office fights today's lightweight division has to offer. An intriguing fight where it's not a foregone conclusion that either man wins. You know, Devin Haney, he's not the biggest puncher. He's not the biggest puncher per se, but he is a much younger fighter than Vasyl Lomachenko without all of the wear and tear that Vasyl Lomachenko has. Though at the same time, Vasyl Lomachenko, he's got certain layers to his game that Devin Haney hasn't seen in the ring before, hasn't seen under the hot lights in a professional boxing match. And there might be just enough of that left that maybe he can beat Devin. Maybe he can become this division's undisputed champion and fulfill that dream, achieve that goal. It's an excellent fight, and for my money, it's the only fight to make at 135 pounds.
Because what the hell else is going on at 135 pounds? You tell me, what else is happening?
That Ryan Garcia versus Gervonta Davis fight, that fight seems to have lost all momentum, all traction. Last thing we heard was that they were at a stalemate over who would distribute the fight, who would be the broadcast partner for it.
Gervonta Davis posted this himself yesterday by way of his social media. January.
I can only assume that he's referencing his inexorable ring return, the financial situation over there at Showtime. It's got to be bad that Gervonta Davis will have fought only once, just once, this entire calendar year.
Got all those court cases looming.
If he comes back in January, and it's not against Ryan Garcia, then who really cares if he comes back? If he's coming back in January, and it's not for the Ryan Garcia fight that they've been hinting at for weeks and months, if he's coming back in January, and it's not a against that guy who really gives a shit.
I don't fucking care, man.
Gervonta Davis is often cryptic by way of his social media. Many times deleting his tweets, not wanting to give too much away, saying too much. He's a mysterious little butterball.
He doesn't want Al Heyman to hit him with a chancleta.
Get put in timeout, put in the corner by Big Daddy Al for saying too much by way of his social media, saying the wrong thing, but that's what he's hinting at. He's hinting at a January return. No word if it's against Ryan or someone else, but if it's against someone else, that goes back to what I just said. Haney versus Lomachenko is the premier fight to make at this weight.
Because what the hell else is going on?
Errol Spence Jr.'s prize stallion in that lightweight show, unbeaten Frank Martin, is coming off that knockout win over the Malignaggi kid. He's supposed to be fighting unbeaten.
That kid from the Dominican Republic looks like Julian Jackson and Muhammad Ali. What's that kid? Michelle Rivera.
He's supposed to be fighting Michelle Rivera in what is a battle of the unbeatens. And I do think that's a good fight. Don't misunderstand me. Don't get me wrong. It's a good fight. But that fight is not on the same scale as Haney versus Lomachenko. Let's not kid ourselves. So irrespective of, Davis versus Garcia fight, what other major fights are happening at lightweight?
More major than Haney versus Lomachenko, you tell me.
And just in keeping with the theme of news at or around these weights, former unified super lightweight champion Teofimo Lopez says about the Pedraza fight, he says, it's not someone that I would have liked to face, and yet he's still facing him.
I thought after the Campas fight, he'd end up fighting Arnold Barboza.
Although Lopez acknowledges that facing the 33-year-old isn't ideal, with his options barren at this point, he'll simply take what he can get. It's not someone that I would have liked to face, said Lopez during an interview with Mark Kriegel. However, with everything that's going on, so many other fights are being matched right now. This was the best opportunity right now.
No, it wasn't. Arnold Barboza's been looking for a Teofimo Lopez fight before Teofimo Lopez even moved up.
Teofimo Lopez can't pretend that he's not aware of this guy. He can't pretend that he doesn't know who this guy is when immediately after the Campas fight, he walks over to what looked like Todd Duboff or Carl Moretti, just one of those top-ranked guys, one of those guys, and he mentions him by name, you understand. He says to him, don't make me fight that bum, Arnold Barboza. You guys all saw it. You're not going to convince me that there's more virtue in fighting Jose Pedraza, who's a good fighter. He's a good fighter, a former champion. But you're not going to tell me that that was your only option or even your best option. No, sir.
I don't know. Maybe his idea of best differs from mine or yours. Maybe he's his best option if he wants to sell some tickets. Madison Square Garden, New York City.
You know, because Jose Pedraza is Puerto Rican. There's a large concentration of Puerto Rican folks right there in the tri-state area. So if you want to sell tickets, or you want to try to, on the premise that some of those Puerto Rican fans might come out to support Jose, well, maybe then that's your best option. Though ultimately, the 140-pound division has a lot more to offer than just Jose Pedraza. I don't think Teofimo Lopez is being honest here, honest with himself, and honest to Mark Kriegel, who he imparted these words to. Jose Pedraza wasn't your best option.
But he's got to tread carefully because he's coming very close to fighting for an alphabet title. All he's got to do is make it there. All he's got to do is play it safe. And that is what he's doing. From where I'm sitting, he's playing it safe.
Relatively safe, I should say. Relatively speaking, that, yeah, you probably like your chances against Jose a little more than you'd like your chances against Arnold. That doesn't even mean you don't beat Arnold, but Arnold might give you more resistance than Jose because Arnold's a big kid, young kid, unbeaten guy, plenty of experience as a super lightweight. You don't want to have to deal with a fight like that ahead of what could be the winner of Taylor versus Catterall 2. You want to go in fresh.
He chose the relatively safer choice. That's what he did.
Should the brazen 25-year-old take care of business on the 10th of December, a more meaningful bout at 140 pounds could be in his immediate future. With countless titles up for grabs, Lopez is firmly of the belief that he'll lace his waist with gold sooner rather than later. Everything happens for a reason. I'm just looking forward to making it a phenomenal end of the year to go into 2023 for a championship. And for what it's worth, this has been a productive year for young Teofimo Lopez. He shook off the cobwebs, rebounded off the shock upset loss to George Kambosos, and he is getting another fight in before this year is out to keep the machine well-oiled. But when you say that that's your only option, that's just not the truth. And everybody knows it.
He's looking to fight the winner of Taylor versus Catterall 2. He even said he's willing to go to the United Kingdom to do the fight, and in many ways, he has to.
On my previous video, we talked about how Teofimo Lopez versus the winner of that fight. It is a bigger fight in the United Kingdom than it would be in the United States because Teofimo Lopez, God bless him, he's not a big ticket seller here. And the winner of that fight, well, they're not a big ticket seller here either. So if you want to get more bang for your buck, more buck for your bang, I should say, you're better off doing the fight over there. There's that to consider, the marquee value of the show, and where does the show generate more money and interest, but there's also that Kinahan situation, you know? All those fighters, those 600 fighters, people in boxing that are not allowed to enter into the United States, I'd wager that both Jack Catterall and Josh Taylor, they're on that banned list. They likely can't come to America anyway.
Due to their tenuous connections with the now defunct MTK Global, which for many years was rumored to have been a front for Daniel Kinahan's money laundering, all that jazz. I mean, that's what people were saying. Speculation.
Yeah, Clarissa Shields very recently said she'd like to fight Savannah Marshall here in America. I don't think Savannah can enter into the country. I don't think that Jack Catterall and Josh Taylor, they can't either. Tommy Fury, quite famously, was turned away. He was supposed to be flying over here for the Jake Paul fight, and all that got scrapped.
You know, before the more recent Anderson Silva fight, and the what was supposed to be, I should say, the Rockman fight, Tommy Fury was not allowed to enter into the country.
And unless the situation has changed and those bans have been lifted, we have to assume that the only way that Teofimo gets the winner of Catterall versus Taylor 2 in the ring is by going to the United Kingdom, because they may not be able to enter into the United States. It's not just the marquee value stuff. It's also that.
Common denominator between all those people is that they used to have some affiliation with MTK Global.
They were still up and running. They're gone now. In any event, you know, Teofimo does have a title fight on the horizon, and it is imperative.
Got to beat Jose.
He better, because if he don't, there goes the neighborhood.